It's been 1 week since you looked at me, cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get back together, come back and see me. 3 days since the living room.
The 1999 film American Pie is considered by many a cult classic. I grew up watching this one, and while it's not the best out of the 4 movies in my opinion, it is still pretty entertaining for what it is. So the story of this one is about 4 seniors from high school make a pact to lose their virginity by prom night. Yeah, the plot is simple. It's really nothing special to write home about. But this is a film that is quite funny and it has some interesting moments peppered all throughout its runtime. Because this one is so relatable. A lot of us have been through high school, we know what it's like. For me personally, I was kind of a nerd. Kind of surprising, right? Anyway, I was kind of like Jim. I felt socially awkward around girls. So I could easily resonate with that character. Man, I can't believe it's been 25 years since this came out, and I'm betting that a lot of people is discovering this for the first time, and they're really enjoying the characters just because they are that memorable. Honestly, this raunchy comedy isn't for everybody, but I have always appreciated it. It was the start of these characters' journey, but more importantly, it is still worthwhile even more than 2 decades later. Most of the characters in this, they are interesting. Jason Biggs did such a good job portraying Jim. He's a socially awkward teen that can't even talk to his crush Nadia. And speaking of her, one of the worst things that Jim does in this film as well, videotape her without her consent. I mean, that's illegal. I was like, yo, what the F? Not only that though, but one of the most talked about scenes from this is where Jim has sex with Pie. I don't know, I just always found that scene weird because I guess he wanted to try it out. At least his dad was cool about it. Eugene Levy did a good job. I really did like that character. He's overprotective, but in a good way. But when he has these sex talks with Jim, it just laugh out loud. Like, I don't know if any father out there actually does that. They're that forward, but I did like the interactions between those 2 characters. Thomas Ian Nicholas portraying Kevin. Yeah, that character, he's okay, but he did come off like an ass sometimes because he kind of was trying to pressure his girlfriend, Vicky, into sex. I was like, really, man? And speaking of which, I thought that Tara Reid, she did a good job. The chemistry between the 2 actors, it's all right. But another character I want to bring up, though, is Stifler. It feels like Sean William Scott was typecast as this character in his other movies over the years. I mean, Stifler, he's a prick. He's a guy that even I would never want to be friends with, not even in high school, because he's pretty much just mean to everybody. But he does get his comeuppance as Finch ends up having sex with his mom. All because, well, Stifler put lactose in Finch's coffee. Speaking of which, A.K. Thomas, good job portraying that character. I also enjoyed the performance of Alice Hannigan as Michelle. Yeah, she is quite nerdy. In fact, when I was in high school, I knew a few nerdy teenagers. Which is kind of ironic because nowadays nerds, they're hip, they're cool. It's 100% in now, but you know that was a stereotype of nerds back then. But in my personal opinion, the best character in this film is Oz. Chris Klein, decent job portraying the character. I like him because, well, his intentions were pure. He never did anything wrong in this one, and he actually did fall in love with Heather. Speaking of which, I did enjoy the chemistry between these 2 actors, and I wish it was explored a little bit more in the sequel. Yes, Mina Safari does show up, but in that film, she doesn't have nowhere near amount of screen time to really progress the relationship. Even though it wasn't during the height of the teen sex comedy, there is a whole lot to enjoy in this. Even though the plot isn't the greatest, at least it's a whole lot of fun when it comes down to it. I'm giving this film a 6 out of 10. Now the reason I'm giving it this ranking is because I just like the sequel a little bit more. I don't find this to be awful or anything, it's just the plot is really lacking. Nonetheless, I still watch this once every year, so it still holds up pretty well. And even though I don't find it as entertaining compared to the next two sequels, it is still a good time regardless. And that's my review of American Pie. Alright, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this movie. Okay, this is Slim Guy 172 saying, peace out.
Match wits, you try to hold me but I bust through. Gonna make a break and take a fake out like a sneak and they can shake out like vanilla. It's the finest of the flavors. Gotta see the show cause then you'll know the vertigo is gonna go cause it's so dangerous. You'll have to sign a waiver. Can I help it if I think you're funny when you're mad?